Inside of this Kaweco Liliput fountain pen, you'll see something that isn't usually possible. And I'm talking about this converter filled to maximum capacity. Usually you can't do this with a Liliput fountain pen because filling a converter to full capacity, assuming you're using a normal converter, so not like the squeeze converter, but a typical converter with a plunging mechanism, you can't usually use them at maximum capacity if you can use them at all, because filling them completely means pulling out the plunger completely. And with the plunger extended, the converter ends up being too long to fit inside of the Liliput's very, very short barrel. And that ends up being the case even with something like this mini converter, let alone something more standard like this one from Lamy. But in my case, if I take this barrel and I lay it alongside the pen, you'll see that the converter just makes it inside. It's compatible now. And basically how I've achieved this is just by shortening the plunger. The mod's that easy, it's just shortening the plunger. Takes basically no tools, and I think works quite well. It does, of course, have implications for how you fill the converter, so I'll go over that briefly in this video after I show you how I did it. It takes no time to explain, it was shockingly easy, largely thanks to Kaweco that made this thing very easy to take apart. So for example, here you have a metal ring that unscrews so that you can pop the converter out and wash it and perhaps re-grease it. But even this knob here at the end is also removable and also threaded. And frankly, I'm not sure why they did that. I don't know why you would go through the effort of making it threaded when that's not necessary for normal maintenance. This Noodler's converter, for example, also has a removable knob. But in this case, it makes sense because it's by removing the knob that you're able to take out the plunger from the opposite direction, like so. Anyway, I won't complain that they made the knob removable because that just makes it very easy to pop it off, chop the plunger in half, and then screw it back on. I shortened it to be about 12 millimeters, and at 12 millimeters, it's almost exactly the right length to fit inside the barrel. So that's how I did the mod. Okay, how do you fill a converter with a shortened plunger? Well, basically, because the plunger is twice as short, you have to plunge it or extend it twice instead of once. Let me show you how that works. The first thing we're going to do is just put the converter in the ink and fully extend the plunger. Unsurprisingly, this only fills the converter about halfway. We're going to turn the converter over now so that this ink at the top flows down to the bottom. And it usually doesn't do this all by itself because there's an air pocket down there preventing it. So I typically use a small pin like this just to encourage the ink to flow downward, just like that. Now we can get rid of the air. Usually if you just go right ahead and start pushing up, a small ink bubble will form at the top. To prevent that from happening and to prevent it from popping, you can just dab the top of the converter. Okay, now you're going to press up all the way. As you can see here, the plunger is fully inserted. And now we can do a second draw. And there we go. Now we have a full converter. Of course, this is a bit less straightforward than using the converter unmodified. There's probably some people who, seeing this, will think, well, I'd just rather use a syringe and reuse my disposable cartridges at that point. Personally, I like that I don't have to use a syringe, and I'm a big fan of converters. I especially think this one is pretty classy, and I'm happy that I've now made it compatible with my Liliput. And that's it.